and welcome to another episode of the Saturday Drop-In podcast. It's just little old me today. I hope everyone's had a lovely week. I was off last week and I do apologise, but I am back for 3 weeks whilst Tom is on annual leave. But don't worry, we still got the usual, your beat detective, your guest of the year. We've got NHS Highland Coffee Corner as well. It's just some sort of general chit-chat, just whilst I had time in between. It went so quickly and I had an absolute amazing time because we had a guest in, the wonderful Susan Smith, who is the champion of NODA as part of the Highland Hospice services. NODA stands for No One Dies Alone. So NODA support is delivered by volunteers trained by Highland Hospice who offer a reassuring presence to individuals at the end of life. Volunteers sit at the bedside of people in hospitals or care homes who are within sort of their final 24, 48 hours and don't have family or friends present at the time. This could involve reading to a patient, chatting about their life, simply just being present. We can also offer support to enable a family member just to have a few hours respite or to sit with them at the bedside as well. And an absolutely incredible service, and they're just looking for requests. Susan retired from the Highland Hospice, which is incredible, and she's returned to continue as a volunteer with the NODA campaign. She's looking for just to get the word out and to make sure people are aware of that service, and it is available for everyone, regardless where you are in the Highlands. So we'll get that interview up first because I know that most people are there to listen to that, and we'll get the quizzes at the end of the show. So, Susan, welcome back. You have been with us before, but you have returned again. I also want to say congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
And then you just head back to work.
And then I go back in to help, yes.
Exactly.
The hospice has that way on you.
It does.
You back in.
Yeah.
Because you're passionate about it, obviously.
Exactly.
And the support it provides.
Amazing. So tell us what's happened on your return. What are you doing with the hospice just now?
So, before I had left, I was involved in setting up a service called the No One Dies Alone, NODA in short, so that's what we all know it as. And when I retired, I put in that I would volunteer to be a NODA volunteer to go out and sit with people nearer the end of life, which was fine. But recently I noticed that we really haven't been getting requests coming in for NODA support, and if I felt that was because nobody was needing it, I would think great. But I actually think it's because we haven't yet found the best way of telling people in the Highlands, particularly in Inverness and East Rochester, where it's currently delivered, enough about the support so that it's in their consciousness when they're needing it. Because it's one of that things that if you say anything about services that are for later on in life, people, it's very natural you think, yeah, that's not to do with me. Because, who wants to be looking at that when it's not currently in your life? Mm-hmm. So you put it on the kind of back burner of your head. But then maybe when you are in that situation, or somebody that you know is in that situation, at that time, quite often people don't know where that information is again, because you haven't retained it. And that's what I'm trying to think. How do you help Highland community to know that that's a service or support there, so that should it ever be needed, it comes into their mind and they think, oh yes, I know where you go to for that support.
And I think a lot of services have that issue. Obviously, when people have sort of concerns and they do approach charities, you go to the big ones, and Highland Hospice is definitely one of the big ones that you go, yes, the hospice will help. But definitely when you've got a NODA service, that I guess in a way there is that sense of taboo with it. I would like to think, but also you've got volunteers ready to go. Like, we're not here being like, we need volunteers. It's like, we need the requests. So there are people that aren't in that situation. They have someone at their bedside or, just available for a chat or just to sit and just sit with them for a while. Like, yeah.
So NODA's for people coming nearer the end of their life. We primarily put the service for people that were in hospitals and care homes initially. However, we would consider requests for people who were in their own homes if they had sufficient clinical and personal care support there, because the NODA volunteers are companions. They don't provide any clinical or personal care support. Now, it could be for somebody that's on their own. Yes, you're right for that. And that occasionally happens because sometimes it might be that there's somebody that becomes unwell quickly and the family are phoned but they live down in London and they're not able to come straight up, or they live over in Skye and that, and they're like thinking, I'm here, and they're knowing that mum's much less well, and the hospital are saying, you know, mum's less well, if you can get up quickly, but they've got all their own family and their work things. Who do they call? So, you know, it can be for that, for people who are on their own. But often it's not really people who are on their own. I mean, all of us will have suffered loss or been with somebody at some stage. And if you've got your family and that round about you when that's happening, that brings you great comfort. And, you know, I remember when my dad died, it wasn't that long ago, and having my brothers there and sitting at the bedside sharing things helped at the bedside then. It helped us. I mean, I did find out things that I never knew about before. They were often into mischief. But you share that. But some people don't have that. It might be a daughter that's on her own, or a son that's on her own, or a wife or a husband. And they're there at the bedside. And they might be getting asked by the staff, would you like to go and take a little rest? And, you know, and they can see how busy the staff are. They know that if they're not there, it's not likely that one of the staff members is going to be able to sit with their husband or their daughter or their wife, or that they may be on their own for a bit, and they just cannot face that. But they themselves are becoming unwell because you cannot sit at the bedside day and night. So volunteers can help in that, in that they can come and maybe relieve the person, and they will then know that their loved one's not on their own. And if help was needed, or, you know, further deterioration, they would be getting in touch with them straight away to come back. And that reassures them so that they can go for a proper rest. Or, as I said, it might just be that it's somebody that's on their own at the bedside. And to sit at the bedside not doing anything is really hard. You're just looking at the person. You feel you're just waiting on them to die. It's, you know, that's a horrible thing. Usually when people at the bedside would say to them to bring in something to do. You know, when I was sitting with my dad on his own, I would sit with my embroidery and sit and do that, just so that you don't feel that way. But I also knew that my brothers would be coming in at some stage and would have a little bit of banter before we did changeovers of people there. So the volunteers can help in that, in that be with somebody, so that they're not on their own sitting at the bedside, and they've got companions, people that they can speak to, and just share the load for that little bit.
And you were saying that it's Inverness and Russia just now, but you would be, you know, obviously wanting to do, you know, home care, well, not home care, but like home services, if that is, you know, if you've got the right boxes ticked and things like that as well.
Well, the Highland Hospice are there for the people. The Highlands people raise monies for us to provide services that will support the Highland communities. So we're charged with setting up the services that people are telling us they need. So if we found that there was a need for something like being in the community rather than just in the hospitals or the care homes, then we would look at that and look at how is it possible to do that. So the hospice have always got a, how can we support people at that? How can we help them to make life better at that circumstances? So our services are continually evolving and being reshaped depending on the needs of the community, the individual people and the general communities at that time. So I think if people have a dead set thought of what the hospice is and what we provide, it can be quite limiting, really. So we're always trying to say to people, try just to let us know what your needs are, and we will try and shape services around that needs.
I love that. We'll be talking about that later on. We're going to get some Commodores on just now, and we'll have a quick break before we are back with Susan from NODA. So let's get some easy on. I absolutely love this song. This is the Commodores. It's the Saturday drop-in with Shannon on Highland Hospital Radio.
Highland Hospice is an independent local charity providing care for those with life-shortening illnesses. We are able to offer these services with the help of our volunteer team. If you have a few hours a week to spare, why not get in touch to find out about our volunteering opportunities in your area? You can either call us on 01463 227 902 or go online at highlandhospice.org.
You're listening to the Saturday Drop-In with Shannon on Highland Hospital Radio. We are joined by Susan, who is one of the champions for NODA, for the service for the Highland Hospice. So before the break, Susan, we were talking about how sort of NODA has like adapted since the start of this service. Could you tell us what sort of the original idea was and how that has sort of adapted over time?
So it's adapted a little. The initial idea was first in America was a nurse over there that recognised that when she went to a bedside and somebody was needing her, she got called away and she had to leave to go and deal with the other person. Unfortunately, when she went back, that person had died and they hadn't had anybody with them. So that's all nurses will have experienced that sometime in their career, and it just hurts your heart that ever happens. But it's something that's unavoidable sometimes, because you must go and care for people that are needing their pain relief or things like that. So at that time, she just recognised, as many nurses, that it was a need but didn't know how to fulfil it until years later, when she had done other things in her career. And then years later, she thought of doing this NODA companions. Now, NODA companions have always been then set up for people within hospital and within care home, well, with hospitals initially. But when we were then looking at it, we thought we would do it for hospitals and care homes. But I think as well, recently, when I've been going out and speaking to people saying about NODA, quite often people will then say, but what if they're in the community? And hospitals are looking at that. Hospitals and palliative care and hospices, we're not looking to take people into hospitals or into care homes if they can be supported and cared for at home. And often when we're looking at that, they've got wide extended families and that round about them and carers and that. But what if they don't? Or what if their carers need support? So a bit of me is then like, well, let's not rule out that we would support people in the community. Okay, there might be other things to consider for the volunteer, so that we knew that there was adequate care and support happening, so that they weren't in a home with somebody and they didn't know what to do because things were deteriorating. And it's not like a hospital or care home, you've got somebody instantly on hand, but that they would have sufficient, that they got a hotline to somewhere that they could phone to explain, it's come to the end of my bit, I'm away to leave, the wife's here, or there's no one here and what's happened because there's a deterioration. So we'd need to look and think of different things. But the thing about the hospice is, we're never opposed to considering other bits, because if that's the reality of people's lives, and that's the bit that they're wanting us to help them with, the thing that we will do is listen and then see, how could we do that? What would need to change with our service to make that possible? And hospice, because it's that bit smaller than the NHS and that, it can be more responsive. It can look at problems in a kind of different way. And hospice is a very human organisation. It's made from people who are passionate to help, passionate to be there for people who are requiring support throughout their health issues as they're deteriorating or that with their health. And it has a diversity of ways in which it does that, of which NODA is one of them.
And the reason that you're on here is that you're ready, you've got your volunteers ready at the sidelines. We just need those requests to come through to keep that service running.
Yeah.
And tell us, like, you're looking sort of to do more outreach and get NODA just at the front of people's minds when people come to us. Like, what have you been doing, apart from obviously coming here, to get that sort of, to get that service sort of out there, and just saying, like, have you tried NODA? And just making sure that's sort of front of people's, like, minds when they are approached in that situation, when they say, well, I just want a 20-minute break, but I don't want to leave.
So before I had retired, I set up the service. We did a promotional campaign at that time, and we went to care homes and spoke to the hospitals, and we had it on our social media, and that's all and good, and people got an awareness. We made sure all the staff in-house, and people just knew that this was something that we were now able to deliver. When I recognised that, because I've put myself as a NODA volunteer, that we weren't really getting requests for support, I went back in to see the team to say, I'm quite happy to help you look at other ways in which we can. So I've only started this month, so I'm looking at current ways. So I have gone on
Congratulations on your new role.
I have gone on to social media, onto different posts, so Inverness awareness page and that, and just put a post about, that we're here for them. And actually it's lovely, you get so many likes and people, so I'm always thinking that's great, at least people. And then people have shared that onto their posts, and I know that will I'm going to continue to do that, because this is not something that only professionals need to know. This is something that the general population need to know, because requests can be made by anybody. It doesn't just have to come through your nurse or your doctor or that. Anyone can ask for help or support. So I've done things like that. I've been in touch with churches, because I thought, well, they come across people who may be struggling and would, if they maybe have that information, they could have it in their mind and think yes. But I'm very open at this stage to think, well, in the community, is there anybody out there that they would know of different ways? And maybe somebody would be like, we've got leaflets and things like, oh, actually, I could take leaflets and I would be the one that would be able to put them into our local shops and have them. And if you were to change the leaflet and email me, I would then come and collect the other ones and put them out. So things like that, just to get in business cards that we have, that they would be happy just to help us to spread the word within their local communities. Or people might have bulletins or newsletters they put out and they're like, oh, Susan, I wouldn't mind actually putting a little bit in that. So I would be happy for them to email me with different ways. And, you know, I would consider anything.
Amazing.
Absolutely
Such an open
anything.
mind. I love that. That's amazing. So with NODA, if anyone does want to make a request or would like to give sort of their thoughts on how they can help you, how do they do that?
So if you're looking for, you've just got ideas or you're wanting to find out more information yourself so that, you know, you at least know what it is that it's happening so that you can talk about it in your own community with your own friends and networks and that, then if you email me at s.smith@highlandhospice.org.uk, I will get back to you. Remember, I am working full time now, but I will get back to you. If you're looking because you've got a request or you've got somebody that you feel, it would be the hospice staff themselves that you would send that request into. And that's either by phoning 01463 227901 or emailing at nhsh.hospicereferrals@nhs.scot, and these go through to our clinical secretaries, because the clinical secretaries are the ones who take the calls in, who will then email and telephone the volunteers, and they will put the rota of who's available to support and then send that on to the referrer.
Amazing. Well, what an amazing service that sounds like. It sounds just amazing. I don't think I could, you know, walk in and feel like I'm alone, and I think this service is absolutely incredible. So thank you very much for starting it up. Thank you for coming today. We are going to be playing some Olivia Dean just to finish the hour off. We'll be back later on. The Rubettes, Sugar Baby Love, and that is your first guess for this week's Guess the Year. So this song was debuted this year. It was their first single and it hit #1 in the UK charts, staying there for several weeks. I wonder what happened to that show of This Week in Chart History. But Guess the Year is on just now, so we're going to give you clues of what happened of this year. TV, movie, general news, topics, people who were born this year as well, and all you have to do is guess the year. Simple as that. So let's start with TV. So this was the debut of Porridge. So obviously this was the prison-based film with Ronnie Barker in it. It debuted this year and it became one of comedy's most loved UK shows as well. And one of the things that I love is that I watch this basically every Christmas now. And it's hilarious. I love going back and listening to all of it, and it's absolutely amazing. Something else that came of this year, I'll see if I can get it on for you. If anyone remembers this piano, did you know it's only got 13 episodes? That's it. They're not made anymore. So this was started in February of this year on the BBC. Children's absolute classic. This is Bagpuss. So obviously featuring Bagpuss, the old cloth cat, lives in the window of Emily's shop with friends Professor Yaffle the woodpecker, Gabriel the toad, Madeline the ragdoll as well, and of course the musical mice, because who wasn't there for the mice? And yeah, it was one of the most loved children's programs in a 1999 BBC poll. So there you go. We've marked 1 year out of a possible 80 years that we go through for this. Your next one is It Ain't Half Hot Mum. So this debuted this year on BBC One. It was a comedy set in World War II in India and Burma. It starred Windsor Davies, Don Estelle, Melvin Hayes, Michael Bates, George Layton as well. Within these, Wolves started this year as well. So season 1, episode 1 was called Cause of Concern. It aired in January of this year, and it introduced Faye Boswell as as the new governor, portraying life in HMP Stone Park, which is a fictional women's prison. And your last TV show that started this year was Second Cities First, which featured a landmark episode in this year called Girl, which introduced the first lesbian kiss on British television. We'll move on to the people who were born in this year. So we'll start with an absolute classic, and he's got himself back because he's got himself a movie as well. Robbie Williams was born this year. He's 50 years old. Happy birthday. Victoria Beckham is also of this year. She's got a new Netflix show out just now, I'm pretty sure, about... Is it a fashion show or something? I'm not quite sure. It's on one of those like long lists of everything that you need to do when you watch TV. That list that you never ever get to. It's on one of them. Jimmy Fallon from The Late Night Show with Jimmy Fallon. Leonardo DiCaprio is 51 this year. And Olivia Colman, an absolute stalker of a British actress. She is so funny, and when you see like interviews of her, she says I can do a really good impression of a pigeon looking down on people, and if you can find that video, I highly recommend it. But do that after the drop-in, guys. We'll move on to a bit of sport that happened in this year. So Manchester United's relegation from the First Division happened this year. So this was on one of the New Year Day matches. Manchester United suffered a 3-0 defeat to Queen's Park Rangers, propelling them into the relegation zone despite efforts to recover. United ending the season second bottom in the league, resulting to relegation after a 1-0 loss to Man City as well. So up the Blues there. Fulham versus Millwall. This is the first Sunday football match that happens. This was January 20th. Millwall hosted Fulham in the first ever Sunday football match at the Den. This marked a significant shift in British football scheduling, reflecting changing societal norms and the increasing popularity of midweek and weekend fixtures. Sunderland won over Southampton at 3-1. August 24th, Sunderland secured a 3-1 comeback victory over Southampton at Roker Park in the second match in the Division 2 season, despite trailing a 1-0 at half-time. Sunderland railed with goals from Dave Watson, Rob Paulson, Billy Hughes as well, which ignited hopes for the promotion for that year. In the Commonwealth Games, Jeff Capes wins gold. In January of this year, British athlete Jeff Capes won gold medal in the shot put at the British Commonwealth Games in Christchurch in New Zealand. So this victory was a statement of his strength and skills and contributed to England's overall success of the Games. And we'll move on to the track championships. The British National Track Championships were held in July of this year at the Leicester Velodrome. This event featured a series of track cycling competitions with Reg Harris at the age of 54, winning the professional pursuit title. We'll head to the movies just now. Your top 5 films of this year. At number 5, you have Godfather Part 2 at $48.1 million. Number 4 is Earthquake, $87.7 million. Young Frankenstein, absolutely love this one. This was $86.3 million. The Tower Inferno is $203.3 million. And at number 1 was Blazing Saddles, $119.6 million of this year. And the news this year as well, a memorable BBC Nationwide feature that covered the World Diddling Championships in Kinross. This is the first time that the BBC came to the Diddling Championships. It was so it's tongue music. Listening contests were treated to a charming local festival moment. It's something that we talk about quite a lot as well. We have in September of this year as well, China gifted 2 pandas to Britain, so their arrival to London Zoo made the good and front page covers of newsreels as well. And I think this is the first time we actually had pandas in zoos in the UK as well. We'll move on to the Grand National, where Red Rum, who is already a national favourite, retained the Grand National ridden by Brian Fletcher with the odds of 11-1 with a £1 win-only bet. Remember when it was only a £1 win-only bet? Once upon a time. And did you know, for all the racing fans out there, that you'll be sure remember that in 2017, someone finally cashed in their slip from this Grand National after sort of clearing out their house, and they found the slip and it wasn't cashed through. And so the betting company agreed to pay out the bet, adjusted it to inflation, meaning Mr. Holmes gets £130 as well as an extra £130 to place on the Saturday's Grand National, as well as a matching donation to his favourite charity. So what a lovely thing to find when it's like you spent £1 all that time ago and gone, I've doubled my money and I've got £130 instead. So your last bit of news as well was the first McDonald's opened of this year in the UK in Woolwich of the 13th of November of this year. So this was the first McDonald's. It was in Power Street in Woolwich. So queues of children with balloons and sense of something new on the high street. I think this is before, is it the Hamburglar and things like that? They had a little documentary that popped out. It pops out every now and then of a kid going in and having like the fish fillet, because people don't really order the fish fillet. I'm not one of those people that do anyway. I'm trying to be good and stay away from the golden arches. So that is your Guess the Year. We're going to play one more song, and then what we'll do is we will reveal the answer. Where Is My Husband by Ray there. New music from her as well. About Time Too. You're listening to the Saturday Drop-In. You're in with Shannon. Just Shannon, unfortunately. Tom's on his holiboobs, but do not worry. As you can probably see from our post this morning, he'll be back next week. He's not going to be in. He's going to be socially distancing in Tenerife. We're going worldwide, baby, with the Saturday Drop-In. We're going to have an absolute belter of the time. And to be fair, the last time that we did, shall we say social distancing? Because obviously a couple of weeks ago I wasn't well, and I decided, you know what, I'll just do the show from home because I want to make sure Tom is well for his holidays. I wouldn't want him going away and being ill. And one of the things I was like, do you know what? If he's not around to tell me off, let's have some fun. So on social media, there is a thing just now where the idea is you go into meetings and don't get caught drinking things that isn't out of a cup. So you have to be creative of how you're drinking water, juice, whatever, coffee, whilst you're in a meeting and things like that. And I was like, let's bring that to the Saturday Drop-In, which is going to be available on socials very, very, very soon. But it took him half an hour to figure out what I was doing, and it was his reaction is next to nothing. So keep an eye on socials with that. It's Facebook and Instagram at Highland Hospital Radio. That is also, if you want to pop in a request or just chat about the show, come say hi, that is a place to also do it. Or if you'd like to email, it's studio@hhr.scot. So at 15:15 we have Beat Detective. If you want to guess the last song of the show, that is the game for you. And we also have the NHS Highland Coffee Corner and just some general chit chat, because you know what, we've got time now to be like, where have you been for a week? I've not been anywhere, unfortunately. I wish I could go on holiday and see the sun and stuff like that, but we've got friends coming up later on, but we've also had friends this weekend as well, hence why I wasn't in this last week as well. But more on that later on. We're going to get some wet on the way and a bit of Keen. See, I got it right this time. Keen. Listen to the Saturday Drop-In podcast if you don't know what that's about. We're going to go into a quick break as well, and then we'll be back for some Beat Detective. This is Wet, and a bit of Yesterday as well. I just got a message about our Guess the Year that has come through. So that is available on Facebook and Instagram. The answer wasn't 1972 that we've already got in. Susan, do you have a guess at all about what year we were talking about just there?
I think maybe 1974.
1970. Well, you would be. You'd be correct. Oh. Well done. What a guess.
That just has floored me, so it has.
Yeah. I'm assuming you'll be popping in for an update at some point. We'd love to have you back on.
I would love to come back and tell you how we're getting on.
Amazing.
And hopefully give you some examples of people that we've been able to support.
That would be brilliant. Thank you so much, Susan, for your time today.
Thank you.
I think it's time for Beat Detective. Now, if you're new to the show, this is one way that we keep you just sort of staying for a little bit longer. We love having you on, but sometimes, you might be a bit busy, but we want you to hear the last song because that is the answer to our Beat Detective. So we cryptically hide this song and artist within a couple of clues. We shove it out on Facebook and Instagram. We tell you guys on air as well. But we don't give you the answer. You just got to listen to the end of the show. That's how we keep you, my friend. That's how we keep you. We've already got one answer in the comments on our Facebook. It's at Highland Hospital Radio. It's Neil McGregor. Hello, Neil. How are we? Obviously, he does Archie Highlands here at Raigmore. So it's lovely to hear from you. You might have got it right. But I'm not going to say anything just now because we're going to go into the clues. So your artist this week is 2 words. Not quite a child, not quite grown, but she is sharp with wood on a lathe. And your song is 4 words. Let's just hug it out. I'll do that one more time for you. So your artist is 2 words. Not quite a child, not quite grown. She's sharp with wood on a lathe. And your song is 4 words. Let's just hug it out. Bend and Break by Keen there. It is the Saturday Drop-In with Shannon and you're listening to Highland Hospital Radio. And I was just saying that we've got time to have a chat. You know, how exciting is that? It's been a while because you know what? The first hour is just so chock-a-block with everything when we got guests and guests the year and all that stuff. And I was saying I was off last week. I had friends up, which is very nice. I mean, with Storm Amy, are we still allowed to say Storm Amy? I'm assuming so. You know, I get my time on the radio to talk about the weather, guys. And yeah, so they're from down south, so they've got the plane up. And they came up on the Friday, which obviously is when like the weather warning started to come through. So we messaged and be like, look, reality-wise, this storm, we can lose power, you know, so we're just going to have to make sure everything's charged up. And they're like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. And it's like, no, you don't understand, guys. Like, you know, there's people that like lose power for like multiple days. So just like be prepared, take extra jumpers, all that stuff. Obviously, we provide as much as we can. And they just have the very like southern, it'll just be a bit of wind. And then when obviously it came pretty badly, it was like, this is what a storm looks like in the Highlands. So they had the full Highland experience, obviously. We did the trip to Mieles, we did the Leakeys. Do you know what? It's the first time I've ever actually been into Leakeys, and I've lived in Inverness for 6 years. And what an amazing place that is. Absolutely brilliant. I even bought a book about the history of whiskey. So, you know, I think I've ticked a lot of boxes since, you know, them coming up. And I think that's the joy is when you got friends coming up as well. Like, because obviously there are some, we're doing the touristy things, which is when I moved up, we didn't have the opportunity to do. Like, we go out to, you know, do Loch Ness and all that stuff, but to do like the little like touristy bits, it's like, it's quite nice actually. It's very nice. We'll get some Duran Duran on just now. We've got to do Beat Detective. That is available on Facebook and Instagram just now. So it's at Highland Hospital Radio if you want a word option. I will be saying that in a wee second, just after some Duran Duran. So make sure you are commenting your answers to the last song of the show. It's Beat Detective or it's email studio@hhr.scot. And we have got NHS Coffee Corner up just now. But what I've just quickly learned as well, our keyboard has just been updated recently. We had issues with our last keyboard. It wasn't connected. So we've got like a proper clunky one. So if anyone likes a little bit of like asthma, this is what it sounds like when... Oh, gotta love that, haven't we? So the reason that we started to do the NHS Coffee Corner is because the NHS are doing so much in the background to keep you up to date with health things and just general goings on that are happening in the NHS Highland area. So all of this is available on their Facebook page, which is at Highland. But NHS Highland, sorry. Just got to go Highland Hospital Radio. It's also available there if you fancy. We do share it every now and then. So let's start off with the NHS Highland Annual Review 2025 will be on Tuesday, the 18th of November at the McDonald Resort in Aviemore. So you'll be joined by the Chair, Sarah Compton-Bishop, the Chief Exec, Fiona Davis, for an open conversation about progresses, priorities and challenges shaping health and social care in our regions. You're going to be expecting direct updates from the board leaderships, insight into upcoming developments and your chance to ask questions and share feedback as well. So if you want to register and send questions, you can do that by free post. So it is free post RUAKJGSHTUUL Clinical Effectiveness of Teen NHS Highland 2025 Annual Review, Aston House, Beechwood Park, Inverness, IV2 3BW. Or what you can do is you can send them advance on the day or just come along. Everything will be updated. We've shared it on our Facebook page as well if you need that free post again. Obviously, we have the autumn bank holiday coming up, so the 17th of October. So there's some GPs and pharmacies that will be open during these hours, but they may vary, so be prepared. Make sure you order your prescriptions early and keep basic remedies at home as well, so your paracetamol, your ibuprofens, things like that. But if you need advice, you can go to NHS Inform or contact NHS 24 app for quick health guidance. And also, did you know breast screening prevents around 1,300 deaths in the UK each year? So screening is just as important. And screening is always carried out by female mammogrammers. Mammogrammers? what an amazing word. Sorry. And the appointment takes around 10 minutes. So it's really important to make sure that you get your checkups booked in. It takes 10 minutes and it could save your life. If you want more information, go to nhsinform.scot/breast screening. Maintenance work as well is going to be carried out at Raigmore Hospital tomorrow. So this is tomorrow that we're talking about. There's parts of works being done to replace the air handling units in pharmacy. So the crane lift will be taking place at the back of the hospital past the estates and the mortuary department. So it's sort of the back where you go for your blood transfusions as well. So this road will be closed between 7 a.m. and midday tomorrow. So that's the 12th of October. Measures will be in place to redirect unessential traffic. So there may be some emergency services vehicles that will go down the one-way system in operation in the area of the hospital. NHS Highland are encouraging patients and staff to follow the diversion in place to be extra vigilant when walking around the back of the hospital during this time as well. A little bit of update from us as well. We have a new Be My Guest. Tom was in charge of this one this time round. So this is when Tom is speaking to some local members from Addictive Eaters Anonymous. They'll be speaking about what an eating disorder can actually look like, how AEA, Addictive Eaters Anonymous, supports those who come to their meetings and listen, and some shares where members give their own personal experiences as well. And this has been, we've done it recently with Alcoholics Anonymous, and these guys came along, was like, we heard it and we want to do the same. And it's such an incredible conversation. So Be My Guest is available. It's 6 o'clock tonight if you want to listen into that. It is obviously quite heavy, but it feels like it's something that we need to be, promoting a lot more and seeing these amazing little services available for you as well. So that's the end of the NHS Coffee Corner. If you have, if you want to know more about sort of the NHS Highland area, as I said, the Facebook page is probably your best bet. It's at NHS Highland. We'll make sure we keep you up to date on a weekly basis of what's been happening over the week, so you know what is happening in your area. So that's us. Obviously, if you want to pop in your request, get your answer in to Beat Detective as well. It is studio@hhr.scot. Well, let's get some Blossoms on just now. This is a hot one, shall we say. This is Blossoms and Charlemagne. And it is Highland Hospital Radio. You're in with Shannon on the Saturday drop-in. And just before the break, I was talking about the fact that the Saturday drop-in gets converted into a podcast. So you can take the chat, get rid of the music, and just hang out with us for about an hour. You get the interview as well, you get all your quizzes, and just a little bit of that pod extra as well. It's usually